What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Celtics Daily with me, Mike Zakarian, as we continue to try to figure out what's going on in Brad Stevens' dome as we're diving into the Celtics offseason. Today's episode, we get a fun one because we've got some potential Anthony Simons trades that are getting thrown around. Brad said no to something before the big draft. You have Bradley Beal, who's now officially gone, and what that means for Dame. And then, of course, we end the show with some of your comments from our previous videos, so make sure you get active in the comments today so we can do that again tomorrow. But also, if you made it this far without hitting the subscribe button yet, do me a favor, hit the subscribe, the like button on the video, and that little notification bell so you know the next time we're dropping that Celtics content. Now let's drop some Anthony Simons trades. I got to tell you, though, very impressed with the chat over the last couple of weeks of videos, because it seems like the chat is very, very pro Anthony Simons. And the thing I didn't give you all enough credit for is how much League Pass you were watching, how much Portland Trailblazers West Coast action you were making sure you caught up with, because I would have guessed that most of you weren't diving in for West Coast hoops with Anthony Simons, Scoot Henderson, and the rest of the Portland Trailblazers. I bet there's a big Denny Avdia hide out there too. But there is still some potential that Simons gets moved. Now, it does not need to happen preseason, but that is their biggest trade asset right now, because their biggest trade asset outside of somebody like Derek White and Jaylen Brown. But let's just assume, for the sake of today's conversation, those guys are staying there, right? So their biggest asset would be Anthony Simons, because he makes that $30 million, because it's a contract that just falls off after this year. There is some incentive for a team that maybe is trying to win right now, that is missing a guard, needs some outside shooting, a little bit of playmaking. Simons would be that guy, right? So let's see if there are some teams who, would need that or are dumb enough to make a move like that. And if we start it with dumb enough, you need to bring Chicago Bulls into the conversation, right? I believe we've mentioned a similar trade like this before, but let's throw this out. I want to shout out the Celtics blog, by the way, CelticsBlog.com, who they put out some of these options out there. This is where I got some of this alpha from. So check out the Celtics blog as well. But here we go. What if the Celtics send Anthony Simons out to Chicago, and everybody's been clamoring for a big man? It might not make the most sense, but Vucci man, Nikola Vucevic, right? Historical 20-10 guy. He's always out there, can stretch the floor a little bit, although the three-point shot has fallen off. But more importantly, this would save the Celtics $6.2 million. Now, I don't really think Chicago would say yes to this. And honestly, I don't know if I love Boston saying yes to this anyways. But Chicago right now, they have Josh Giddey, who's a restricted free agent. They still haven't figured out how much they're going to pay him, but they are going to pay him. They also have Kobe White over there. They still have Ayo Dosunmu. So I don't know if they're really going to be that active to go get another guard. However, if the Bulls want to continue to play loose and fast and just shoot some threes, especially with Giddey not being the best three-point shooter, having White and Simons flanking him makes a ton of sense. Vucci man, on the other hand, right, the Bulls just got their rookie big in Noah Esengwe, pronunciation, bonjour français. If you don't know Noah, he is the one that got absolutely obliterated on a poster by Johnny Furphy of the Indiana Pacers at Summer League, where it looked like his eyes were popping out of his head the way he got smoked. They also have Zach Collins and Jalen Smith over there. And it's so clear they need to move off of Vooch. Not because Vooch is bad. I think Vooch is fine. He's at a different point of his career. He's fine. But they you got rid of Levine, you got rid of DeRozan. You're trying to build this young core, and you still have Vooch over there. So it doesn't make the most sense to retain Vooch. On the Celtics side of things, I don't know. I'm of two minds here. One, yeah, sure, it does make sense to get another big, because right now, Luka Garza, Keita, Tillman, we've just got a rotation of backup bigs, I think, and I like that. I'm excited to see what they can bring. I hope Amari Williams, who there was a great piece on him yesterday, I think, by Jack Simone, who was talking about Amari Williams. His favorite player was Jokic growing up. Once he hit his growth spurt, he started trying to study Jokic's game. Now, after seeing Amari Williams at Summer League, I don't think he's Jokic, but I do think he's got some upside as some a playmaking hub, somebody they could work through the middle with. So I don't know. I do want to see those guys, but if you were trying to think hey, I want to win now. I don't want to be the tanking Boston Celtics. We want to go out there and get W's immediately. You're going to need to upgrade that big position. And I think the Simons for Vooch makes sense while also saving the $6 million to get them underneath the second apron. Ultimately, I think both of those teams probably don't do this, but that is one of the trades that kind of makes sense. All right, let's get Simons to the Bucks, right? I thought we're going to talk about Bradley Beal here in a second, and we're going to make fun of him a little bit. I thought Bradley Beal going to Milwaukee made a little bit more sense than the Clippers just because right now the guards for Milwaukee are Kevin Porter Jr. and Gary Trent Jr. That's it. Just guys with the last name that have the guys that are juniors. So what if we sent Simons over there and then the Celtics pick up Kyle Kuzma? Now that's disgusting, okay? We also get a 2026 second-round pick either from the Bucks or from the Utah Jazz. We include that, okay? Kuzma's not good. Kuzma's at a bad point of his career. However, I do think they could reflip Kuzma during the season. This actually just saves them $5 million. They get another pick, right? And then they can just tank. This if they make this move, they're trying to lose games, right? So you get under the tax. Maybe you flip Kuzma again. You get a second-round pick, and then you just assume the Celtics are going to be bad this year. Because I do think, Kyle Kuzma, I don't even think we talk about that trade enough when Milwaukee moved off of Chris Middleton, who, of course, I know injured a ton, right? So it's tough to rely on. But they brought Kyle Kuzma in to replace and be better than Chris Middleton, and he was garbage. So I don't know. I know most of the chat isn't a fan of the Celtics losing games, I would say, on purpose to get a better draft pick next year. So I don't see anyone really liking fake trade number 2, but it does make sense mathematically speaking. Here's one of my favorite ones, and I don't know if the Grizzlies would do this one. And again, shout out Jacob Eisenberg for Eisenberg for putting this together. This is with the Memphis Grizzlies, okay? Memphis Grizzlies are such an interesting team. They have so many, obviously, Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr. They had the blockbuster trade this year where they moved Desmond Bane over to Orlando Magic, basically saying this core of 3 we're no longer can get done. This trade here Memphis also has some really young pieces that I think are fun. And in this trade, the Celtics would get one of them. So Simons goes to Memphis. Boston receives Brandon Clark, Vincent Williams Jr., and John Conchar. I like this quite a bit because it gives them it gives the Celtics 3 different options, 3 different players who I do think could actually play. I think they're not going to be superstars, okay? Simon's probably the best player of those 3 that we just listed. However, I do think they could all impact what we need immediately. Plus, you save $6.7 million. Now, Brandon Clark is fine. He gets hurt a lot. That's been part of the knock on him, but he's a great rotation big. I think he would honestly immediately be the best big man on the Celtics team. He's got good bounce, can kind of hit the mid-range, but he's pretty good down low. I think Clark, on a good basketball team, is a backup big. He's an A-plus backup big that comes in and plays 18 to 22 minutes a game. During the regular season, can carry a heavier load. But on the Vincent Williams Jr., to me, is a very young, very exciting player. If you remember 2 seasons ago, it was him and Gigi Jackson for the Memphis Grizzlies had to play a ton of minutes because Ja Morant was taking a gun out in a strip club. Jaren Jackson Jr. and Desmond Bane kept getting hurt. It was a season from hell from Memphis. And Gigi and Vince were really, really solid. Vince battled some injuries for most of last year, so we didn't get to see him. He was at Summer League. He looks NBA ready. I'm a big fan of him. And Konchar's fine. Can shoot the 3 ball, does some stuff. Nothing sexy, but I think is fine. And it does help out Memphis a little bit because they don't have a ton of shooting now. So somebody like Simons makes a little bit more sense on that roster. So that to me is my favorite one. And I think we call it there. I'm curious if you guys have any other potential Simons trades. Again, I know a lot of you are big fans of Simons. I'm just thinking realistically, I think he does get moved at some point this season. We know they got to shed a little bit of salary, but curious to see if there are any moves I didn't talk about. I know the Dallas one is out there too. Dallas, hey, shout out Klay Thompson. Lot of photos with him and Megan Thee Stallion here last couple of days. So shout out to Klay. But they are relying a lot on D'Angelo Russell. I know Kyrie Irving is supposedly going to be back in January and February. However, he also went out and said he's not going to come back until he's 150%. He hopes to be back for the playoffs. Now I don't know if that's just Kyrie being Kyrie, but if that is the case, man, D'Lo can't be. If you're supposed to be a real basketball team that's trying to get through the Western Conference, and you're ooh, we got Cooper Flagg, Anthony Davis, some of these bigs. D'Lo can't be your main and only guard for like 2/3 of the season. Simons, I do think would make a ton of sense there. And if the Celtics are able to acquire, say, a PJ Washington and a Daniel Gafford or something like that, that would immediately probably be the best move that we listed here because PJ's game is great. Gafford is like a great rim running five, a good rim running five. We're throwing the word great around a little too much, but both of those guys make a ton of sense. So those are my Simons moves. Curious to hear from the chat. Throw them in there. Let me know what you think. What did you like? What did you hate? What did I miss? There was some reporting, too, about Brad coming out of Summer League that, we heard the Derek White rumors, right? So for those that weren't locked in during this time, supposedly the Raptors were trying to trade back from their number 9 pick, who I'm blanking on the guy that they took, so I'll Google it right now as we're talking. But the Raptors were trying to trade back, and they were talking to the Celtics about potentially, swapping there. And what they wanted, what I heard initially, was Derek White. And I was like, no, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. But then reporting came out that they also said no to Drew Holiday for number 9 pick. And so the question I just wanted to pose to everybody here, what would you prefer? Would you have preferred the number 9 overall pick for Drew Holiday or Anthony Simons for Drew Holiday? Now, initially, right, there were some second-round picks in that. It turned out those got taken away, right? So it's essentially a player for player. So would you prefer Simons for Holiday or the number 9 for Holiday? Now, here the Toronto Raptors selected Colin Murray Boyles, who is from South Carolina. But why don't we just look at the list of NBA draft picks from 2025 and see if there was anybody else that would have stood out, right, that they could have taken right there from, just say 9 to 15, right? But anyways, Colin Murray Boyles went 9 to Toronto. They also had the big man out of Duke, Kamen Maluk, who was ended up going to the Phoenix Suns. You had Cedric Coward, who ended up going to the Memphis Grizzlies. Noah Senge, who we just mentioned, who went to the Bulls. You got Derek Queen, who actually looks awesome in Summer League. He was in that controversial trade with the Pelicans and the Hawks. Carter Bryant, who's like a big defensive guy. Not sure what we have for the offense. He went to the Spurs. And then Thomas Sorber went to the Thunder. He was the big man from Georgetown. And then Yang Hansen, who is looking like the Chinese Jokic, who went to the Portland Trailblazers. So those are all some like potential options that the Celtics could have done. I'm curious. I don't know if they preferred Simons because they had the intent of moving off of that contract as well. That would make sense, I guess, because you're just trying to save money. I'm a little bit surprised. If you knew you were getting rid of Drew Holiday to get a top 10 pick is pretty intriguing, especially on a team that's not rebuilding, but is probably not going to be at its best this season. So I was kind of surprised. I'd be curious, what do you all think there? Do you prefer what the Celtics did, which is just Drew for Simons, player for player, or is that number 9 pick dangling for Drew? Is that a little bit more enticing? I'm a little bit surprised. I definitely agree not to do that for Derek White, but for Drew Holiday, when he's going, I don't know. All right, we officially got our second star buyout this season as the Phoenix Suns have bought out Bradley Beal, right? And Bradley Beal now goes to the AARP, Los Angeles Clippers, who will be rolling out with Brook Lopez, Nick Batum, Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, Bradley Beal, Ivica Zubac, the old heads of the LAC. And I mentioned Milwaukee earlier. I was kind of surprised, right? Because one of Bradley Beal's biggest complaints was he was like, I don't want to be the third guy standing in the corner. And you saw Milwaukee, who's so desperate for a guard. He would have immediately been their best backcourt guy. And instead he goes to the Clippers, where guess what? He's going to be the third guy standing in the corner. But the reason I think this is kind of important is because right now we've seen Norman Powell go to Miami, which was a potential Dame spot. Bradley Beal go to the Clippers, which is a potential Dame spot. I feel like the Dame to Boston is like really picking up steam. If you go check Vegas, not Summer League. I don't want to talk about going back to Las Vegas. My body is still in recovery mode. But if you look at the betting favorites, Damian Lillard to Boston is the leader in the clubhouse right now. I do think the Golden State Warriors are still a dark horse over there. I think it's kind of nuts that Golden State has yet to make a single freaking move this offseason outside of sending Kevon Looney over to the New Orleans Pelicans. I don't think they've gained a single player. Al Horford has been rumored to be going to Golden State for like 4 weeks now, and they still have yet to pull the trigger on that. And I don't know if that's on the Golden State side or the Al Horford side. By the way, I saw Mike Dunleavy Jr. in person. He is the GM for the Golden State Warriors right now. Skinny man. He was eat a Sammy. We need to get that guy a sandwich. That's coming from a skinny man. He's very skinny. But they still haven't figured out the Jonathan Kuminga stuff. So it makes me wonder if they think a bigger move is coming. But Dame to Golden State, the reason this makes a little bit less sense is the core for Golden State is built to absolutely win right now. In each passing season is going to, like we called the Clippers the AARP, each passing season is going to make it more and more challenging for that roster to stay healthy for a full season, right? Same thing for the Lakers, like they were rumored in the Dame business too. I mean, like LeBron is in his 40s now. The Celtics, however, are built with like, yes, these guys are in their prime. They're ready to win now. But you come back next year, Jaylen Brown's still in his late 20s. Tatum's still in his late 20s. White 30, right? They're still built to win right now. So I'm really beginning to think that Dame is going to be for the like on the Boston Celtics, but in the next like couple of weeks, I feel like it's happening. I do think Houston's still a dark horse. I think Dallas is still a dark horse, but eliminating the Clippers, eliminating the Miami Heat, it really does seem like Boston is going to land Dame. And you saw the Bradley Beal deal. I believe the numbers were, I think, a total of like $9 million a year, maybe $10 million a year. I'm going to fact check this right now, but that's also a good sign, right? Because that means the Dame price is probably going to even be lower because he's coming off injuries. Bradley Beal's not going to be able to play, for the full, Dame's not going to be able to play for the full season, where Bradley Beal's going in there and he's going to play right now. So the 3-time NBA All-Star Bradley Beal agreed to a contract buyout with the Suns ready? He signs a 2-year, $11 million deal, $5.5 million a year. So you got to assume that's like probably the max of what Dame would get. So I don't know. You telling me for $11 million over 2 years, sign me the F up. Give me the Dame time. All right, let's get into some of your comments from yesterday's videos. But before we do that, again, get active in the chat today, and then make sure you hit the subscribe if you haven't done that. We're closing in on 1,600 subs here. We're going to be at 2K before you know it. Shout out NBA 2K, soon to be sponsor. I don't know, but sign up if you haven't done it yet. Let's couple of things. One on Summer League. Let's do this first. Alejandro Castillo and Boberman both had similar takes here. They said Hugo did not look solid in Game 3. LOL. 6 turnovers and 25% shooting from the field. Let's not boost him into saying had a solid game, notably getting clamped. And then Boberman says, settle down a little on Hugo. I like what I see, but he is closer to a likable Duncan Robinson than he is a major star. So, all right, first of all, he's not, I know he's white, but that's probably as close to Duncan Robinson as he is. They don't play the same at all. But let me clarify the Hugo stuff. I'm not saying Hugo's going to go out there, start for the Boston Celtics and average 18 and 12. That is not what I'm saying. But when it is the 28th pick of the first round, you don't really know what you're going to get, a la Baylor Shireman, a la Jordan Walsh. And all I'm saying about Hugo is I do think he is going to be in the rotation for the Celtics. Even if Tatum was still here and healthy, I still think he would. He just looks NBA ready. He looks comfortable and confident in the role that he would be playing. He's not going to shoot 45% from 3. He's not going to average 9 assists a game, but I think he can do a little bit of everything and shoot the gaps. I thought he was a pretty solid defender, so that's why comparing him to Duncan Robinson seems a little crazy, but I do appreciate the comments, though. And then I wanted to throw out Samuel Henry out there said, Celtics don't need Dame. They need a center and a power forward. We kind of addressed that a little bit with a potential Simons trade, where like they could get a PJ Washington or Gafford or Nikola Vucevic to the Bulls. The one thing I would say about this when we talk about Dame and like trying to get a power forward and a center instead, we got to remember like the cost analysis where you're getting like a Dame caliber player at that price. I don't know what power forwards and centers are out there right now that you can get at that price, right? Of $5 million to $7 million a year. I think everybody else is going to be a little bit more expensive, and we know the Celtics can't spend money right now. If you have a list of bigs that you think we're overlooking here that are free agents, let me know in the comments, but I don't think those exist right now. And I think by adding Dame for $5 to $7 million a year, you're not
like that's not killing you next free agency when some other bigs become available, right? So I agree with you, man. I've been saying our big rotation is not a big rotation. Like Garza, Keita, Tillman. I keep forgetting one every single time we do this. But those aren't Amari Williams. Excuse me. Those aren't starting bigs. Those aren't. And so, like, I totally agree. I just don't know what's out there right now. So if you know, tell me. But again, appreciate the comments, appreciate the engagement. Keep it coming, baby. Hit the subscribe on the way out, and I'll be back tomorrow with some more Celtics hot takes. We'll see you tomorrow.